Basically, the way facial topology works is that it actually mimics the flow of muscle structures in the face and also within the full body anatomy. So we do have basically circular muscles that sort of run around the opening of the mouth and the eyes. There's orbicularis oculi, which is these big yellow muscles around the eyes and eyelids that allows you to obviously blink, to emote, to squeeze certain things, to make squinting. There's orbicularis oris, which is a big circular muscle around the mouth. And then we have different muscles too. So, yeah, which one is that? 8. Zygomaticus major is basically your smiling muscle. There are the odd diseases where people aren't born with that muscle and can't smile. So sometimes they actually get muscle transplants to have that happen. But as you notice, there's a circular muscle, but there's also kind of a V shape. So when I sculpt, I often sort of sculpt these features just based on anatomy, and then I may sort of soften them or reduce them a bit. So I find it very handy. But essentially the point is that we have a very sort of simplified way to look at facial topology. And I often think about this image. Basically, you have, again, the circular openings of the eyes and of the mouth, and so you almost imagine like a Spider-Man type mask around the face. And so we have circles that radiate out from the openings of the eyes and the mouth, and then edges that kind of flow into them. It's almost like looking at a kind of vortex kind of graph or illustration, right? Yeah, I don't know if I can find one right now, but that's sort of the point. We sort of have these almost like cone shapes that kind of go into and out of the different cavities of the face. So again, you can sort of see simplified versions where we want circular loops that form the shape of the lips, that form the shape of the eyelids, and then radiate out with progressive circles. Right? So these are generally what I consider pretty good topology examples. So again, we can do this by hand. I used to do this all the time manually. Before even doing anything high poly, you'd have to start low poly and build up vertice by vertice. It was a very painful process to make a face. It would take a week to get to like this level, just pulling one vert at a time, which was madness. But the great thing now is that we have ZBrush and Zwrapper. So as I said, Zwrapper, once it installs, it does give you some tools, essentially some pre-made tools. If you go under Tool and then Zwrap, there's a folder of some basic meshes. So you can pick, I usually pick the one with the mouth socket. So there are some with mouth cavities, or we also call it a mouth bag, which is kind of funny. Right? But if I smooth this back, you'll see that there's basically a cavity to put teeth and gums and things of that nature. So that's very useful for, of course, animation. I'll go back to this head. Something else I should mention too is that, in this project, I think I started it backwards. So when we're looking at the face, we're sort of seeing it from the back side, according to this view of the orientation of this kind of human head in the upper right corner. So I usually try to fix that stuff at this stage. I will turn off symmetry. I'm going to center my pivot, reset my pivot with Alt, and then I'll turn on all the subtools and make sure they're all visible. Yep, these are all visible. There we go. And then, yes, I'm going to just, again, center my pivot, and then I'll rotate, and I'm going to hold Shift so it snaps in these degrees. Something has happened to the scarf. So let me undo. I think, if I'm not mistaken, is something masked maybe, potentially. So I'll just go back and fix that. There. Okay. Just holding Shift while rotating will snap. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, basically what I want to do is add that clean head mesh, and I'll take this. This is the rough, I think. Yeah. Let me solo. Nope, that's not the rough. This is the rough. I'm going to append, which is basically adding that other tool. So I'll go to append, and I should be able to find it right here with this icon. When you want to, by the way, quickly isolate the visibility of tools, I use solo a lot, but solo in this case I don't want to use. I want to actually just see the real visibility of my rough head mesh, and then this cleaner mesh. And I'm going to move these to the top of my subtool list. So I'll just make sure these two are visible. Obviously, there's a scale mismatch. So I'm going to take the new head and just kind of roughly scale it down and position it so that it's sitting with the other head there. Okay. There we go. It's about good enough. Let me just see here too. Okay. So next up, again, I'll make sure the two tools are visible. I'm going to go to Z plugin and go to Zwrap, and then just simply hit Start Zwrap. If you ever want to train yourself on it, you click on the icon at the top of this very short menu, right? And you've got video tutorials, you've got access to some training there, which is useful. So I'll hit Start Zwrap. I often get this mixed up. So I forget the ordering is important in terms of where the subtools are and which one you start with that's selected. I think this is right. Let me just double check. I'll just go right to wrapping and see. I think yes. Okay, good. It's the right way. Okay, so I'll jump back here. Before I do this, though, I should mention as well, I typically will take the head before doing anything, and I'll go to morph target and store morph target. So what a morph target is it allows you to kind of go back to the state that the mesh is currently in. I'll show you why that's important in a minute, but let's go back to Z plugin, start Zwrap. Yep. Okay, so back to Zwrap. So I usually try to kind of get the key features. Because ears can be really weird, I try to put at least 3 or 4 points on the ears. And also I like to do what's called sync view. So that way when you're rotating around, right, you're kind of moving them both at the same time, which I do find is helpful. The interface is a bit odd. You do have to use right click, which is also part of the interface in ZBrush. You can use left click and move, right, to rotate stuff around and zoom in and all that, but we can also use right click. And this tool prefers the right click system. So it's Alt right click and let go to zoom in and out, Alt right click and drag to pan, and then just Alt right click off the model to sort of rotate around, okay? Okay, so maybe I'll do, typically at least 3 points around the ears, maybe one in the back. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just placing my points, and then I typically like to do this as well for the eyes. So I'll grab kind of the corner of the eyes, roughly the middle, tear duct, and then maybe one for the surface of the eyes. So I do these. There. Sides of the nostril can help. Okay, so we're just placing our points. And then you want to do them in the same order. And the nice thing is that these are numbered, so you do have a pretty good idea of where they are. So yeah, I'm going to just click on maybe the corner of the jaw, tip of the chin, other corner of the jaw. The lips would be good too, of course. Okay, and then yeah, maybe just the sides here of the shoulders. Okay, so then I'll go back and basically do the same thing on the right side now. Oops. Yeah, my 0 is actually down here, so I'll start there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's just I find the more points you get, the more accurate it is. But you know, sometimes I've just done it with a couple of clicks, a couple of points. So you know, it's easy to test when it's just really simple. Yeah, where am I going next? The side of the nose. Yes. Always good to just do a little sanity check and double check that your numbers actually match up. I'm actually not sure if there's a way to get rid of these points cleanly. I usually just wind up hitting undo. But I haven't sort of seen a way. I'd have to check the notes maybe to see if there's a way to manually remove individual points if you want to reset some. Okay, 23. There we go. 24. 25. 26. And then I should be down to the last two there. So again, I know this, I don't need as much of the shoulders, so I'm going to try to pull this out to where I think my coverage should be. Basically, once you're done all the point placement, then you click on wrapping, and you can choose either one. I find both work fairly well. You can just try one and see if it works better than the other. There's cartoon wrapping, right? So like magic, it basically shrink wraps around the head. Okay. Wrapping is done, and if you take a look, I mean, that looks pretty freaking good, right? So I'll try fast wrapping as well, so you can kind of reset and see if you have a preference for one over the other. I think cartoon seems to work a little bit better, so I'm going to go with that, I think. And then basically, once you're done, we can just simply hit the done key. Very, very simple, right, process. Okay. Hit done. There you go. Snapped right up, right? Now, the one thing you might notice is the mouth bag, the mouth cavity. Sometimes these edges too, like they might get a little bit overly stretched and pulled, so you may have to do a bit of manual smoothing and sort of like replacement, rejiggering of the orientation or location of some of these things. But overall, this works good. So like I said, if I go back, remember morph target, if I just crank this slider up, it morphs back to the original base, right? So this is my little trick here. Because this mouth bag, it doesn't have a reference point on the other model, right? So if you go in here, there's no mouth opening, there's no cavity, right? That's why this green part, the mouth cavity, just doesn't know what to do. So that's where I'll basically just isolate it. If it does this craziness, don't worry. What I'll do is I will, Control-Shift-Click on this, isolate it, Control-Click off the model to mask it, Control-Shift-Click off the model. I know it's a lot of Control-Shift clicking. Now Control-Click off the model again to flip the mask around, and I can try to just hit the morph slider. And you see it actually brings the mouth bag. If I go to double-sided, it's a bit more visible, right? And so what I can do now is basically just, with this thing in isolation via masking, I'm going to hit, you can hit W, E, or R for the transpose tool, which is your move, scale, rotate. Hit Alt on the kind of teardrop icon to center, Alt on the circular arrow to reset the orientation, and then if you need to, you just drag it back into the mouth, right? And there, again, you know, there's probably going to be a little bit cleanup, touch-up sculpting, totally fine. Okay, clear your mask. If need be, we just hit it with a touch of smoothing, okay? Hit it with a little inflate if you want, or some move brush, okay? And there she is, right?